All right, get in here, knuckleheads. We are live. Reds did play good today, Nick Kirby. Welcome. Chuck Walter with you. Filling in for Trace Fowler. Kirby's on the ones and twos today, my color commentator. Good to see you, Reds country. What do you think, man?
You really got the short end of the stick on this, man. We've had some. Even the loss was at least like a compelling game. This is a tough
reset.
one.
It's a reset.
Yeah.
Damn, man, this team would have been so deep with Noel V. McLean, add in Friedl. That's the worst part of the young season. You know, forget the wins and the losses 5 games in. It's just the what could have been, man. We were set up. Set up.
Chuck, you did a fantastic job on Chatterbox Bearcats this year. Shout out to you and Houdini for that.
Oh.
Really adding to our Chatterbox portfolio. So it's good to have you. Good to have you be a part of Chatterbox Reds. I'm good at a few things. Predicting how Elly De La Cruz's game's going to go, not one of them. And hosting a show is not one of them. I'm much better as the color commentator guy. So
passenger.
I think you'll.
I'm a driver. I'm a driver.
You'll be a great fill-in for Trace and keep us rolling. Hopefully right along. Hey, we got a runner on base.
I'll steer the ship. You give me the stats and the breakdown. 9-2, Phillies on top. To break this one down, it was a game entering what? The 7th? It was 3-1?
Yeah.
All right, Elly De La Cruz to the plate. Swing.
I'm a little ahead of you.
All right, extra bases.
That's good. Hey.
Uh-oh.
That's good to see. Good to see.
Couple more hits and I may have to go down to the mini fridge. Get myself a big old Foster's. You never know.
Tell you what, if Trace might lose his spot here if the Reds came back in this one.
That would probably be the biggest comeback since obviously Reds were on the short end of the stick last year against Pittsburgh, but biggest comeback since Dunner, the grand slam. That was I think 8.
Yeah. They weren't down this many in the 9th, right? I mean,
they were. I think they were down this many in the 9th, and they brought in the Guardians. Cleveland brought in, was it Wickman? Bob Wickman?
Yeah.
George Grant.
Dog.
It's gonna be God. Adam Dunn has done it again. What a call, man! What a call. That was back in the old day where I didn't have cable and I was watching it scroll on the bottom screen.
Nope.
I had to wait 5 years to see those highlights. There wasn't YouTube. Kids have it so easy these days.
Chipping away.
Couple bloops and a blast. Folks. 9-3, 2 on, nobody out. Let's get the tie and run up to the plate. Let's get some theatrics.
Oh. We didn't sink. That was a mistake. But I mean, I didn't think this was a you need to sink kind of game. I'm way ahead of you.
Okay.
I'll pause it here for a minute. Tell me when you see where are you at? Okay.
I see Martini running off the field.
Okay.
De La Cruz enters the dugout, and their team.
Yeah, I'm watching on
Sports Ohio.
I'm watching on TNT. My Bally was like freezing.
I got Fubo. I go with Fubo, man. It's gets the job done. I think I pay about $150 a month to watch 3 channels. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to get your content, man.
I'm on DirecTV, and that's a whole mortgage. Yeah, fun times.
Does that involve the satellite dish? I don't think I ever had DirecTV. You got the dish on top?
Satellite dish, everything.
So as it was raining in Cincinnati today, you had the static the whole time?
Well, remember, I'm in Cleveland.
Yes. Weather's bad in Cincinnati, everyone. Get your canoes ready, and in all seriousness, stay safe. My brother was down at Mount Lookout Tavern and sent the video over to me about 20 minutes ago, and it was the worst I think I'd ever seen in Cincinnati. You could legit ride a canoe down the streets of Mount Lookout, down the hills. All right, India. And the 1-0. Inside. What's Trace doing tonight to miss this show?
Well, I think he's actually fine now. So they were supposed to do the Prasco Park games, but then they got rained out. So
he saw the score and said, "We'll give it to Chucky."
He did confirm we were still good before the game started, so we can't do that. All right. Let's do a show, Chuck. Let's do a show.
Hold on. All right, I see it. It's over. 9-4 the final. Let's do a show. Let's let it rip. Kirby, welcome to the chat room, everyone. Chatterbox Reds.
And the bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes to Lindy. It's a save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He scored. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Walker. The Reds win the pennant. Larkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded. The outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on. Long drive. Right field. And this one belongs to the Reds.
A high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down for the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again. The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the line. Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did. He did. Reds win. Win. Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed the no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream to get into the career of Jay Bruce.
right, everyone. Welcome to Chatterbox Reds. Phillies take it 9-4, dropping the Cincinnati Reds to 3-2 on the season. And Kirby, the Boo Birds are already out. The folks in the chat saying season's over. I actually haven't even looked at the chat yet, but I'd imagine there are some people saying season's over as the bullpen comes in late. I don't want to say the bullpen struggled because the defense behind them gave them nothing to work with. We'll get into that. What was the bigger issue? Was it the bullpen's pitching, or was it 1,000% the defense behind them? But overall, with my first show ever on Chatterbox Reds, this is what I have to deal with. I mean, that was ugly from start to finish, not because of the game, because the Reds crumbled late. From start to finish, just because the weather, man. You would have had to have paid me so much money, and kudos to those Phillies fans that sat through that game. It looked miserable in Philly. But we got the game in on time. Pretty speedy game when it was all said and done.
Yeah, these 6:40 starts, they come through quick, especially when you try to do a post-game show. Chuck, it is a pleasure to have you on. I'm really happy to have you joining on Chatterbox Reds this summer, helping us out. I think you're going to be a fantastic addition. And, yeah, it did look one of those games where I think it was like 45 degrees, but it probably felt like about 15 out there on the field. You had a few of those games doing Reds Live back in the day, huh?
Oh, it was the Diamondback series back in 2022, I believe. Castellanos and company. And the Diamondback series in early April, it was as cold as I've ever felt it at a baseball game. It was like 22 degrees. I'm pretty sure, statistically, it was one of the coldest days that time of the year in the history of Cincinnati. But cold in Philly. And the bats were hot, specifically Bryce Harper, who went long 3 times in the game. We'll discuss all that. We'll get into Frankie Two Scoops, the legend in Philly that I never heard of, and he's been walking this earth for 85 years. Frankie Two Scoops. But first, Kirby, give us a little rundown of what happened in this game. Go through the box score.
Yeah, not a pretty box score recap here on this Tuesday evening. Graham Ashcraft overall was pretty good outside of really just 2 pitches to Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper entered this game 0 for 11, but I think he took out all his frustration on the Reds tonight. Hit 3 home runs, including a grand slam in the 7th that really kind of put this game away. Phillies, they got an incredible start out of Spencer Turnbull, a guy that we talked about on yesterday's show and on the podcast this morning that was only starting this game because the Phillies' first game got rained out against the Braves, and that had to push Zach Wheeler back to tomorrow. But he actually became the first pitcher in Phillies history to have 7 strikeouts, no walks, and no earned runs in his team debut. So good for you, Spencer Turnbull. He's a guy that came back off Tommy John. Really has had a tough career to this point, but congrats to him on a good night. And then probably the storyline number 1, Elly De La Cruz. He had 2 throwing errors in this one. The second one, a very ugly throwing error where he tried to flip with his glove. And I'm sure it'll be talked about a little bit tonight and everywhere around town. But the Reds, they did make a little bit of a push late, but they fall 9-4. Reds now 3-2 on the young season. And Chuck, that brings us right to our deep drive of the day. And usually, even if it's Reds don't hit a home run, I usually just throw someone in there as a fly ball. But there's only one that you could say on this night, and it's, dear Bryce Harper, please never do that to us again. We ask you, we beg of you, Bryce, to not do that. And our deep drive of the day, sponsored as always by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production. They specialize in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks, as always, to our friends at DSC. Back to you, Chuck.
I guess better today with Bryce Harper than yesterday, because that position where he was up late in the game against TJ Antone last night, Monday night, and he's the tying run up there. Reds potentially have a chance to blow this thing, and we've seen it many, many a times. And Antone somehow gets out of that jam, striking out Bryce Harper. Was a thing of beauty. I actually went to bed last night, was in between snoring. I was terrified that Bryce Harper hit that home run. I had it about 3 times in the middle of the night. You guys think I'm lying? No, dead serious. I woke up just screaming. My wife's like, "What's the matter with you? Bryce Harper, he went yard. It's tied up. Antone blew it. His arm's shot. He's Mel Clark." No, that did not happen. But today, we saw 3 of them from Bryce Harper, including the first inning home run. Really, Ashcraft's only big-time mistake in this game. Graham, what'd you think of his start today?
Yeah, I thought overall it was pretty good. If you look at StatCast, I don't even want to count them up. There's a lot of fire emojis. Those stand for hard hit balls. So he did give up a lot of hard hit balls. Bryce Harper was certainly due. Came in 0 for 11. I almost jinxed it last night. Maybe I did jinx it just because it was in my head. I didn't say it, but I was like thinking to myself, hey, you know what, man? Maybe the Reds got lucky getting Bryce Harper when he's not at his full self. He did have a slow spring. He was dealing with a shoulder injury that kind of slowed him. He missed like a week and a half of spring. So coming up to today, he clearly wasn't feeling himself, but I think he's feeling okay tonight. I don't know. Ashcraft was fine. It's a start that there's just so many things that the cold weather, the defense behind him. It's really hard to give a real grade to Ashcraft, at least in my opinion, tonight.
1,000th career run was scored by Bryce Harper, who is actually a day younger than me, I believe. I think he's October 16th, 1992. So a day younger than me, and he's done a lot more with his life, including 1,000 more runs in the major leagues. Phillies team's loaded, man. This is a little preview of a potential playoff matchup if the Reds were to get that far, because Philly's not playing any wild card games, man. I mean, they're going to be up there with the Atlanta Braves in this division this season. Thus far, not up to the greatest start in the world. They're now just 2-3, but you go down that lineup, man. Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos. And Castellanos was hitting 6 today or something like that. So Reds getting battle-tested early. They will go for the series win tomorrow in a rubber match, a game that's been pushed back. We'll have all the details of that coming up in just a little bit. But, it's a healthy rendition right now of the Philadelphia Phillies, and we're seeing one of the better teams in baseball, you would think, and tomorrow they get the best in Zach Wheeler. But going back to today's game, Elly de la Cruz, 2 errors for Elly in the game. Your level of concern with not his defense right now, but his demeanor, because you saw the ISO shots after his second error, and you've seen it sometimes after a few of his strikeouts where he's swinging at pitches that are nowhere close to the zone. For the first time, he looks a little timid out there. Am I wrong saying that?
Yeah, the second play was a little bit concerning. Definitely there was something in his head. I'm not going to try to diagnose what was going on, but going through his whole game, he made a really good play early in the game. It actually
3 errors. 3 errors. Let me get in there. We were editing the pre-production, so 3 errors.
There was 3. There was 3 errors. There was a third one. Oh, jeez, that's rough. But he made a play earlier in the game. Really good play, deep in the hole. It was Trey Turner almost made the exact same play and threw it into the dugout a few plays earlier, which I think kind of, probably lends itself a little bit to the field conditions. The second one, I don't even know what the third one is, so I apologize on that. The second one, I thought it was a play that he made a bad throw on, but it's a play that a good defensive first baseman makes. And if a good defensive first baseman makes that play, where CES, reached out and was they were both kind of casual, I felt like. No one ever talks about that play. But then the third play where he tried to flip it with his glove, at least the last play I can remember, that was rough. I don't know if it was in his head. I don't know if he's just, okay, I'm just trying to do too much. But yeah, that was ugly to see. At least he did have a double to end the game. Hopefully, that at least makes you feel like his confidence isn't completely shot right now. But I have no concerns about Elly de la Cruz defensively long term. If you want to get your licks in now on him, I guess go ahead. I think he's the one guy actually on this team right now on a really bad defensive team that I feel the best about. It just didn't show tonight.
Yeah. If you go to my Twitter and search Elly de la Cruz, you'll see that I've already declared he's a future Hall of Famer, that he should be put in the Reds Hall of Fame tomorrow, that the statue should already be built, that they should have live cut-ins at all point of the baseball season of Elly De La Cruz at bats specifically on MLB Network. So I've declared a lot of things for Elly De La Cruz. Unfortunately, right now, going through a little bit of a slump to start the season. But once he gets on base, man, he's electric. I'll tell you that much. One thing that I do have on Elly De La Cruz, and it didn't really affect him today, but I've noticed it throughout the year, so I went with the deep dive. I went Poindexter to get all the numbers. And Elly De La Cruz, to switch or not to switch. Right now, as a right-handed batter, it's ugly. The analytics look as such. I think the OPS is now at 495 from the right side of the plate. He's hitting 195. That's in a decent sample size. Is it starting time to ask the question, Elly De La Cruz, start hitting them left-handed only? I mean, he's not going to do it mid-season, but moving forward with what you've seen of him as a right-handed hitter, the switch hitter's kind of gone away in baseball. Would you ever make that switch if you were David Bell?
That's one of those things I feel like I have absolutely no qualification whatsoever to give an opinion on. Trace brought up a really good point yesterday about how Lance Berkman said if he could go back, he wouldn't switch it, which I'd never heard that quote. I thought that quote was kind of wild to hear. So if Lance Berkman said something like that, it does make you land that maybe, you just try to make the game a little bit more simple for Elly, because he clearly has all the tools that you could possibly ever hope and dream of in a player. So, sometimes just making the game a little bit more simple, it might be in Elly De La Cruz's best interest.
5 walks and 49 strikeouts from the right side of the plate. Let that sink in. He's walked 5 times and struck out 49 times from the right side of the plate. Little alarming, in my opinion, but the Reds staff, they know better than us. And if his best interest is to hit left-handed, it's not going to happen during the season. But will he be a career switch hitter guy? To each their own on whether they believe he should start making that shift to left-handed only or not. I personally think that he looks much better, and I'm much more confident with Elly De La Cruz up there from the left side of the plate. But hey, everyday player. He has the ability to switch, so I understand trying it out early in his career. Graham Ashcraft. Go ahead.
One more quick point on Elly. One thing worth noting on him is he did get better in the minor leagues from the left side, from the right side, as his career through the minors progressed. It was the splits got less drastic the further he got. Now it hasn't really shown itself in the big leagues yet to this point, but again, it is still a pretty small sample. So I don't know. Again, if someone says they think this will make it better, I say go for it. If someone qualified says, stick with it, let it go longer, I'm fine with that. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. Just think it is worth noting that he did improve at that facet of the game the longer he got into professional baseball.
We got the chat coming in right now saying that one person in the chat, I should mention, saying that the Reds should have flipped Elly De La Cruz last year when his stock was high, did what they had done with Josh Hamilton years back to get Edinson Volquez. No, we're riding the course. The receipts are out there. Elly De La Cruz, knock on wood, but future Hall of Famer, man. All the tools are there. Remember last year when the question was posed, like, who would you rather have? You could trade De La Cruz for Ronald Acuna right here, right now, and every single Reds fan looked the camera dead in the eyes and said, we're keeping Elly De La Cruz. Ronald Acuna is pretty damn good. Elly De La Cruz has a lot of talent and has shown flashes of being really, really good, especially when he's on the base pass. But got on the base pass late, scored the Reds' 3rd run in the 9th inning. Martini hits the sacrifice fly to score De La Cruz. I should say he did not score the 3rd run. He scored the 4th and final run as the Reds lose 9-4 in the game. But pivoting to Graham Ashcraft, who makes his first start of the 2024 installment. Ashcraft, it's the curious case. It's not Benjamin Button. It's the curious case of Graham. Honestly, if this was Chatterbox Bearcats, I would have the copyrighted stuff queued up, ready to go. I'd have Zoolander saying, who am I? Graham Ashcraft, who is he? You look at the statistics last year. The splits, man. In April and March, he had that 2.10 ERA and 5 starts. Then goes up with a 9.21 and 6 starts in May. Then a 10 ERA and 4 starts in June. Then July comes back with a 1.84 and 5 starts. Follows that up with a 3.03. Who is Graham Ashcraft? What should Reds fans expect long term?
I wish I had a good answer for you. He's one of the guys that's the hardest, probably the hardest of any of the Red starters to kind of project which way his career will go. Because he's done so many times, he's been a guy that has given up a ton of hard hit contact, but has been able to find ways around it. So he does get a lot of guys to hit the ball into the ground, which, you do get some success when you have guys with, very poor launch angles. But where Graham Ashcraft is going to go, it's a roller coaster. I mean, there was times last year where you felt like this guy was an elite starter. There was times last year where I think me and Trace both said, I think we should send him down to Triple-A. Like, it was that bad at one point. So, look, a positive first start for him this year. I think he's solidified in this rotation. I think he's going to have a atrocious stretch to get demoted, unlike maybe a guy like Andrew Abbott, where he's going to have less of a margin for error than Ashcraft. Just because Ashcraft has done it, at least for part of the last 3 seasons. But where he's going to go, I think, if I had to guess, I'd say he's probably a back end of the rotation starter, and that's probably, his, maybe not his ceiling, but more of like kind of where you would kind of expect. But I don't know. What about you? Where do you see Graham Ashcraft like projecting going forward?
In a perfect world, if I could grab the bottle and pull the genie out and give myself one Reds wish, it probably wouldn't be anything that pertains to Graham Ashcraft. But if it was something that pertained to Graham Ashcraft, probably say in a perfect world, not a great comparison here, but like if he could give us the same statistics, and I know this dude I'm about to bring up was a number 1 for quite a bit, Aaron Harang. But if he could be like that guy that just goes out there and gives us a 3.95 to a 4.15, 6 inning, honestly, what he did today, because the Reds will win a lot of games with Graham Ashcraft on the bump if he pitches the way he did today. I thought he was fine.
And the one thing I really love about his line is he only walked one guy. And you talked about at the beginning, that is a really good Phillies lineup. It's a lineup that if you're an opposing pitcher, you go up and down the lineup, and it does strike some fear. So for Graham to only walk one guy, I think that definitely says a lot in itself. We got a super chat. We got a
few of them. Is this?
Do we have a few of them?
Yeah, we got a few. You want to?
I don't know. That was something we didn't discuss. So I only see the one from Michael Rolfe. I'll read that one. If you could find the other two, that would be great. I didn't see the other ones. Michael Rolfe said, happy fake NATO Day 24. My power went out for 3 hours, 2 pitchers into the game. My power lines are underground. Thank you, Apple gods, for mobile devices. Except the electrical engineers. I hate you and my underground power lines. Sounds like you've had a hell of a day, Michael. Sounds like Michael might have had a worse day than Elly De La Cruz. Is that possible?
It's up there. It's 1A, 1B. Michael Rolfe, Elly De La Cruz. Worst days in America. Zach Strayer giving us a DA's, $10, says, Chuck, in all caps, Chuck, you kind of look like Trace with no beard. I don't know. Do I look like Trace?
I had never thought that. I don't know. I thought that. I'm going to have to do a deep dive into that tonight.
Yeah, I don't think I look like Trace whatsoever. But thank you for the $10, Zach. Trace, if you don't mind, I'm going to send an invoice your way for $4.99. Kirby can have $4.99 of that, and then we'll give 2 cents to the tax man. Who's the tax man at Chatterbox? It was Spurlock. We'll give 2 cents to Spurlock, a little association fee there. I want to talk about Will Benson. I know we're going way off the beaten path here when it comes to the J-Bar, but we'll get back to that in just a minute. But I did want to talk Will Benson because I saw a pretty interesting stat before the game. You see that he has significantly better numbers as a Red than Nick Castellanos does as a Philly? That's crazy.
Yeah. I think Will Benson's a better player than Nick Castellanos.
Whoa!
I'll say it.
Whoa!
I'm not afraid to say it. I think Nick Castellanos was awesome here when he was with the Reds, but if I had to pick who would I have between Will Benson and Nick Castellanos, I'd rather have Will Benson.
Is
I
that a
don't even
hot
think
take,
twice.
Chat? Is that a hot
I don't think
take?
it's hot. I think it would have been a hot take, maybe a week ago. But, with our chat, it's when a guy's going well, through the moon with that guy. When a guy's going bad like Elly, throw him in the dumpster. He'll never play again. He'll never do anything again. So I think the chat will be fine with that one.
Yeah,
Currently we're high on the Will Benson. Now, last year for about two weeks at the beginning of the season, this guy will never play in the major leagues. He's terrible. He's a 4A player at best.
You want the
but
numbers?
Now everyone loves him. I'm dying for him.
1 for 24 was Benson to start last year. Entering this game, he was 5 of 15. Only took him 15 at bats to pick up his first 5 hits, and then I think in his first 15 at bats, 6 of those hits were considered very hard hit balls. So poses the question. You're talking Will Benson better than Nick Castellanos. And Castellanos has gotten off to a tough start this year, but Castellanos was phenomenal last year. When TJ Friedl comes back and the outfield does its little movement, we got shifts everywhere. Benson, as of right now, an everyday player. Friedl comes back, you got to make room. Where does Will Benson fit into this lineup in an everyday occasion?
I think he's a platoon player, but I think that's fine. I think we want to turn good players.
I hate the platoon, man. I hate the platoon. I had to cover Gabe Kapler. He loved his platoon. You go to a Giants game trying to see Jock Peterson hit some bombs, and you'd be seeing some dude that just got called up from Triple-A because he was a righty and had better numbers in Sacramento. Come on. Gone are the days where your best players play, right? Gone are those days. I miss them.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days where we played guys that shouldn't be out there. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, Will Benson had bad numbers throughout the minors. He has every chance he's had in the major league, he hasn't hit lefties. Now, against right-handed pitchers, he's been a great hitter. And thankfully, that's who you see the most. And he's a really, really good player against right-handed pitching. I don't think Nick Castellanos, though, was that great last year. He had 3 games where he had 5 home runs in the playoffs, and then he ended like 0 for 23 in the playoffs after that. I think he only had like a 107, 109 weighted runs created plus last year. I mean, he was a 1-win player. I mean, that's a guy that's making, I think, $25 million. That's I don't want to pay $25 million.
What the hell was that statistic you just gave me? Did you just give me a WOBA? What was that?
Do I need to explain it?
No, I want you to say that again. There was a lot of words as I'm looking up Castellanos' stats.
Weighted runs created plus. It's pretty similar to OPS plus. I don't know. Are you familiar with OPS plus?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty much the same type of statistic. It's just measured a little bit differently. Weighted runs created plus puts more emphasis into park factors and things like that. But Nick Castellanos was not great last year.
He drove in 106 runs. If Will Benson drives in anywhere near 106 runs, you sign that man to a lifetime contract. By the way, I wanted to bring this up. I don't know if there's any comparison here, but I am thinking Cleveland. I am thinking pretty big prospects that didn't pan out in the early years. Cleveland gave up on them. Cincinnati took their chance, and right away you knew there was a little something there. Brandon Phillips? I mean, completely different positions, completely different eras, completely different types of players, but there's some similarities there in the way that a new ballpark, new city, new fan base, new energy from that type of player.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. I've never really thought of that, but yeah, I mean, they do kind of play the game. It feels like at times with the same chip on their shoulder. Will Benson is absolutely a fan favorite, and I think that's just gonna continue to grow. When we were at Reds Fest, he was like the one guy that everyone wanted to talk to more than anyone else. Like everyone wanted a piece of Will Benson because he's such an approachable, he's such a likable guy, and he's easy to root for. And he's a star for the Reds. I mean, I think he's a platoon star, and I love platoon stars. I think platoon stars are wonderful. I think other people think of platoons as a dirty word. I think of it as a wonderful thing. I think it as a glorious thing.
I think it's a disgusting word. I mean, gone are the days where you show up to the ballpark and you know your 9 are going to be up there. Gone are those days, Kirby. But I get it. The game's changed. We have a lot more analytics to look at than we did in the past, and the numbers say that you have big league ball players littered throughout your bench that are better in certain situations. You put those guys in. You let the other guys sit on the bench. All right, so you're saying that Nick Castellanos, not a good baseball player. We got it. Let's go with a little stump the Kirby real quick, Nick.
Okay.
Brandon Phillips, when he was traded from the Expos to the Guardians, Cleveland traded away Bartolo Colon. What players did the Indians receive in return? It was considered one of the worst trades of all time. Chat, you can help him out. Stump the Kirby. Get the music going.
So this was the original trade that brought Phillips from the Expos to them?
Yes.
Was Cliff Lee a part of that?
He was.
Okay. Cliff Lee, Brandon Phillips. There's one other really good player in there, right?
Good for a little bit, but he fell off.
Was it Hafner?
It was Hafner's twin brother that looked nothing like him, but they were from the same era.
Ryan Garco?
Grady Sizemore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Grady Sizemore, who was like the best player on the planet for like 3 years, and then, man, just what an unfortunate career for him, because he was like legitimately, I don't know, maybe the best player in the sport for at least a little bit.
Yeah, and they gave away a top-tier second baseman in Brandon Phillips, and also a pretty good pitcher in Cliff Lee. Granted, they got a long time out of Bartolo Colon. I think he went for another 18 years after that, but to each their own. What's next up on the rundown, Kirby? Fire me up. Game time.
Well, we're gonna talk about the Game Time app. Hey, Chuck, the Cincinnati Reds, they're back in town this weekend, right?
Oh.
New York Mets Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a big series, 4-game series at home against the Brewers Monday through Thursday. So if you're looking to head down to the ballpark, which I think if you're in the Cincinnati area, you definitely should, be sure to check out the Game Time app. It's a great app to use, super easy. I love the all-in pricing. You can see exactly how much you're going to pay, get the fees, everything in there all in one. They have a really great seat view where you can kind of see each price for each section throughout the stadium. Just a really phenomenal app, and we have a special deal for you. If you're a first-time user, download the Game Time app today and use the promo code Cincy. You can get $20 off your first purchase. Yes, that is $20 off your first purchase with the promo code Cincy, CINCY. Download the Game Time app today. You won't regret it. I've already used it a bunch. Trace has already used it a bunch. And make sure you get in on that.
You heard the man, people. Get in on Spencer Steer stock right now. Call options to the moon. Buy a bunch of Dogecoin. Spend the rest on Spencer Steer call options right now. Expiring 2032. I mean, this guy is going to be a heck of a baseball player for a long time because he has a knack for just putting the barrel on the ball. Hard hits. Knows when to take it the other way. And, man, I was not familiar with his game before he came to Cincinnati. It took a while for me to start heating up to him. I felt like whenever he was playing really good baseball, he was going to regress. I mean, let's not forget, this is a fan base that witnessed Joe Randa being the best player on planet Earth for about 5 days. So when Spencer Steer goes through a couple weeks in his first season of looking really good, there's always some hesitation to crown the man. But I think it's time. I had the take the other day. I sent it to a Reds group me I'm in, and I said, hot take. Spencer Steer is the most important Cincinnati Red. And by the morning, every single human being on planet Earth had that same take. I'm like, wow, I'm original. I thought just like everyone else. But Spencer Steer, man, 3 more hits today has been a very, very bright spot to begin this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting 474 in an ugly game where no one was hitting. No one had more than 1 hit today. Steer had 3 of them. He's been incredible. Just so consistent. I mean, on a nightly basis. And really, I mean, if you think back to last year, he started the season a little bit slow because there was I think it was a wrist injury, if I remember right, in April. And it really kind of bothered him for a couple weeks. But after that, he's been consistent almost every month. He's had a above average month. I don't know if his ceiling is like the Reds' best player. I think if Spencer Steer is your best overall player, more likely than not, your team's probably not that good. But I think Spencer Steer is a really, really good player, has the versatility. So far, he's looked perfectly fine and capable out there in the outfield. That was a big concern coming into the year is will that be a big liability? It hasn't really shown itself at all yet. So that's been really good to see. And, yeah, I mean, he's been off to an incredible start to this season.
Yeah, I think Matt McClain, in my opinion, my humble opinion that means nothing, is the Reds' best player, but he's covered in bubble wrap right now. So, Matt McClain, get healthy soon. But Will Benson and Spencer steering the ship right now for Cincinnati is we've made it through the first full rotation set. And honestly, not too many complaints with the way the Reds pitchers looked. And now we turn it back over to Frankie Montas and see if he can pick up where he left off in that game on opening day against the Washington Nationals. What's going on down in the farm, Kirby? You know that when I got my start on Reds Live, I broke in as the down on the farm Reds reporter. Picoro and Giesenslaw used to say, let's send it down to Chuck Walter, who's on the farm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chuck! And they'd send it down to me. I'd be wearing a suit in 110-degree weather in Chattanooga. But what's going on down there on the farm? It's been a minute since I've looked at some of the rankings.
Yeah, only one team's in action so far. That's the Bats. There was a bunch of rosters released today. We'll get into that maybe a little bit more. Maybe I'll go through that a little bit more into the podcast. But the rest of the minor league teams all start on Friday night. So just Triple-A Louisville, they had a nice win 2-1 over Gwinnett this evening. Resigns 0 for 3. Blake Dunn 1 for 5 with a double. Jacob Hurtubise, unfortunately, was placed on the IL earlier today. He's got a right shoulder injury, a guy that really was, I think, really provides the Reds some great depth in case they need another outfielder. Mike Ford had a nice night, 2 for 4 with a home run. And then Connor Phillips, he had a really good start. 6 innings, 4 hits, only allowed 1 run, did strike out 3. And then Tony Santillan got into this game late, finished it off through a perfect 9th inning. So really good to see from Tony Santillan, who's a guy that I really want to see on this Reds team sooner rather than later.
All right. To the chat we go. Before the super chat, we got Kentucky Big Blue Dog. I can't stand the new guy's voice. Damn it.
They're tough. They're tough.
What can I do? Can I change my voice? Do I go a little deeper? Do I go a little bass? Sorry about
Appreciate
it.
the
Kentucky
love.
Big Blue Dog. Yeah, I'll tell my parents sorry. I'll tell biology to screw off. Super chat, though.
That's a good one.
Another
Good
one.
super
Michael
chat.
Rolfe tosses us $4.99. So another invoice coming. Says, if you were a manager, give your lineup 1 through 9. Platoon for Nick, the non-platoon for Chuck. Okay? You want to start us off?
You want to go first? Or you
No,
want me to
can
go
start
first?
us off. Yeah, you can start us off.
All right, so my platoon lineup. I think I'd have, I wouldn't mess with it right now. I wouldn't have at the beginning of the year had Jonathan India batting first, but I'm not going to mess with that. I like what they do for the most part. I would go India. I'd keep Benson. CES. I would probably have Steer batting 4th instead of Candelario. Then, or you know what? I'd have Fraley batting 4th, then Steer, then Elly. Then I would go to Candelario, Martini, and Stevenson. I think versus right-handed pitchers, they pretty much do it well. I don't really have any issue with the lineup as it is. I do worry about the defense. I think they probably should be getting Espinal in the lineup more at second base. I worry that that's gonna come back to bite them, but it hasn't yet. Against left-handers, I would not have Benson in there. Sorry, I would go with the defense. I think Bubba Thompson's a better defender. But again, there's not. The problem is with Bubba Thompson, there's a whole side tangent. There's not really a whole lot of information on him because he hasn't played enough games in the majors to really have any sort of like defensive metrics. All I know is he's fast as hell. I don't know if he's a good defender. But I'd probably stack him. I'd have India, Steer, CES, Candelario. I'd stack all my righties. Then I'd probably have I'd probably have Stewart, then Elly. I don't know. It's hard to just do this on the fly without like typing it out, What would you do? What would you do?
I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I'd probably go Elly at the leadoff spot. Get his speed up there in the beginning, make him pitch to him early. I'd say get Elly there in the leadoff spot. I'd mix it up with some righty-lefties. Elly, Steer. I don't know if you throw Benson in there 3, but why not? Elly, Steer, Benson, India, Fraley, Candelario. I don't know. I mean, I'm throwing out some garbage right now, but that's
I like it. I would have batted Elly leadoff at the beginning of the year. I also wonder almost, Chuck, if Elly would see a couple better pitches batting leadoff. Sometimes you have your pitchers trying to find it at the beginning of the game. I just feel like that's the spot you want him eventually to settle into. You want Elly De La Cruz getting the most at bats. I'm okay if they think it's better for him to have him lower in the lineup now, similar like what they did with Will Benson. When Will Benson came back up from Triple-A, David Bell was absolutely steadfast on him, batting him at the bottom of the lineup. I'm not messing with this guy's confidence. I'm going to let him get comfortable for a full year. And I think that was a big reason why he's doing this today. Now, people could say that's stupid. He would have been just as good if he was batting higher up in the lineup. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. So I don't. You have to with lineups. I think you should make your best effort to have your most productive lineup and your most efficient lineup. But there is something to putting guys in spots where they're comfortable in. Because how many runs you can create by having Elly first versus sixth, it's very small. Anyone who's ever done any sort of actual data dives into these things will show you it's a couple runs at best over the course of a year. So if David Bell has to have the pulse of each of these players on which spot they'll be most comfortable in, which spot they can be most successful in based on their comfort. And so I think that's a whole thing that me and you, we don't know the answer to a lot of those questions.
Let's bring the ship in. Up next for Cincy, a little later game than we thought. It was supposed to be, 12:05? They pushed it back to 4. You have the exact numbers. Wheeler, Montas, ace against what we think could potentially be the Reds ace this year in Frankie. Look at that ERA. You got to love that from Montas. Looking to pick up right where he left off. 4.05. Bally Sports, 98% chance of rain. I know that you had your undergrad in meteorology at Mississippi State University. I know you didn't go to Mississippi State, but that's a very good, what do you call it? Meteorology school, apparently.
Okay.
What are you thinking? We going to get a game in?
Well, it does go lower. Like if you're looking through the hourly forecast, it's like 98 at 4, and then it drops to like 70, then to 60, down to 50. So there's a good chance this game actually doesn't end up starting at 4. But I do think there's hopefully there'll be a window later in the night. But things could change. This is kind of a really crazy storm that it appears is coming through. So 4.05 is what they got now. I wouldn't be shocked if it maybe starts at 6 or 7. I think they're just shooting for 4. Hey, we'll hope we can get it in. We want to get it in as early as we can because, both these teams are leaving town. But Chuck, before I get to these pitchers, I was watching the TBS broadcast tonight because I do like to hear what the national broadcasters are saying, but also my Bally was like skipping every 3 seconds. It was wild. And they actually said on that broadcast that both the Reds and the Phillies have a day off on Thursday. Neither one of them play, but they couldn't play a game on Thursday because there's a wedding. How I'm going to pull this up for a second. How crazy is that? How do you, as a professional organization, allow that to happen, allow a wedding during a off day that, both teams have an off day that could be a rain? Rain happens all the time early in the year in April, right?
Back like when the Warriors won a title in the 70s or 80s, I think. And they were trying to play the game at Cal Palace. They had some weird split with how the playoffs were set up. It was a new rule, and they didn't think that they were going to be at that point that late in the season. They went on a late season push, and they couldn't have the game at the Cal Palace in San Francisco because there was a karate event going on, and that took precedent over the NBA Finals at the time. So karate, weddings, what can you do? That's got to be an expensive wedding, though, this time of the year. To have one in the ballpark in Philly, that's a hot reception venue.
Maybe it's someone that is the daughter of like a co-owner or something like that.
John Kruk's daughter. Yeah, it's John Kruk's daughter's getting married there. They'll open up the doors for that. Yeah.
Little Crucky, yeah.
But
that was wild. I did think that was wild. But Chuck, this is a really good test for Frankie Montas. excellent on opening day against a bad Nats lineup. Now he's going to get a chance to go up against the Phillies ace, against a really, really good lineup. I'm really interested to see kind of what he can do in this start tomorrow.
I was stunned to see how low some of the National Baseball fans and writers and just spectators of the sport in general were on Frankie Montas. I think it was 2021. Great season with Oakland, right? And then second half of the year, they ship him to the New York Yankees. Wasn't great with the Yankees, gets hurt, misses the entire season. My timeline maybe, forget it. Doesn't matter. What does matter is that he was a really good pitcher, still pretty young. He's healthy now, and he showed us in game one that he can hurl it a little bit. I think he was only picked up in like 8% of all Yahoo fantasy leagues, and he's already bumped up to half the leagues have him. So Frankie Montas, the disrespect. Keep going out there and doing your thing. If he's the Reds ace and Hunter Green's the 2 and Lodolo comes back and is the 3 or flip-flop the 2 and the 3, you got a nice little 3-headed. I don't know if I want to go as high as monster, but you got a nice little 3-headed. Give me something that isn't monster. A nice 3-headed steadfast. Is that the right word? I don't know. Stalwart? I don't know. 3-headed something. Steady 3 heads.
Yeah,
It's late.
I like it.
I don't know what the hell I was going with there.
Shout out to Mark. I think Mark had a super chat earlier we might have missed. I think he said, I got nothing. But Mark says, Reds money line tomorrow. Mark's all about it. Mark is the sharpest bettor I've ever come across in my entire life. So if Mark says Reds money line, hammer it. It's going to happen.
Give me that one more time. I was reading Sean Connor tweets.
Yeah, that's... Mark said hammer Reds money line. We have a Discord, Chuck, and Mark is in there, and he puts these bets up every single. He loves these like 2-3 leg parlays.
He's a sharp,
and this, he's the sharpest bet I've ever bet in my life.
Wow.
He said Reds money line tomorrow, so that makes me feel good.
Okay, how about that? What's it at? Like plus one? I'd say plus 145 going up against Wheeler on the road.
It's got to be up there. I'll tell you. Give me a second here. Live YouTubing. We got plus 160.
Plus 160. Oh, that's juicy. All right, Fetter says you know what to do, everyone. Before you go to sleep, liquidate your entire 401k. Take out your children's collegiate funds. Don't do any of that. Get like $10. Put it on Reds money line. Win yourself $16, and then fire some super chats into the next show that I host, which is next Tuesday, right? Am I the Tuesday guy? The Tuesday spell
you're the Tuesday guy. They're at Prasco next week, so we're looking forward to have you. And I think we're gonna have a better result. Off to a rough start here with the result, but there's nothing better than when you come in here after a great Reds win. Well, I hope that you at some point this year get to experience like last night. I mean, when the Reds win one of these games late, especially a comeback, it's electric. So looking forward to it, Chuck. Appreciate having you on tonight.
Yeah, it was back in the day when I was doing the Reds Live right after a game. It was kind of the same thing, live show right after, and you get everyone pounding on the drink rails, going nuts, get the people fired up. We'll do the same for sure. Chatterbox Reds, presented by Chatterbox Sports. Toss the sponsor on the way out, and I'll shut this thing off, Kirby. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, man.